Yeah, my name is Lee. I work for Sencha. Sencha is a company we create tools and frameworks for developers. And I work as a sales engineer, but also as a technical trainer. So I know the frameworks really well. And I also wrote a book for O'Reilly about the framework. So I will show. I have some examples on my GitHub. So if you're really interested in the framework, definitely go to my GitHub and just download some of the examples so you can take a look into that. I love HTML5, and it's a good thing because that's what Sencha does. Because we generate which framework you choose, we always generate HTML5 code, and the power of that is it's a single-page application, so it behaves very smooth. But it also means that you write it once, and you can run it everywhere, whether it's an iPad or whether it's an iPhone or whatever tablet or device. You could even run it on a smart TV or a smartwatch, for example. And that is also what the larger enterprise companies think. They see the power of HTML5, and they see like, oh, you only need to maintain one code base. So let's migrate our existing applications. And these can be applications that are maybe Java Swing applications or Adobe Flex. But we at Sencha even see like companies that have like old mainframe applications from 15 years ago or maybe longer. And they're now ready for the next step to move over to the web. And that will be quite tricky for them because we're talking here about serious applications and not just some simple utility application. And these are like all things that you need to be aware of. Think about data retrieval, but also how can you securely log in? You probably will have forms on your application that needs to be validated on the front end. You probably work with huge data sets and you want to display that, whether it's in a big database or like big table, or maybe you have visualizations. And on top of that, it all needs to look pretty as well, and it needs to have the best experience for every device. So there are like a lot of things that you need to be aware of, and that comes with a lot of challenges. And I like just to mention a couple of these challenges, and then I can show you what the solution would be. And one of these challenges is device fragmentation. Obviously, I mean, I think back then when I started my career as a web developer, we only had 800 by 600, and maybe there were some people still on 640 by 480. Or there were people that you had like a big monitor, like 1024 by 768. I mean, and that was like very easy for me. I could just remember, and I just provided 3 times the same website, but just with a different style sheet. Now, obviously, that's now not the case anymore, and we can't do that. There are so many different devices. They all have different variations of screens, and it's not only the screen size, it's also the software that is running on it, like different operating systems, different network connections, and different browsers. And when you're lucky, you only need to work for the default set. I think that's Firefox, Chrome, Safari, and maybe Internet Explorer 10, and then you're lucky. But even these browsers, they all have differences between versions. I think my coworker spoke with somebody who worked for LG like a couple of weeks ago, and they told them like, we're releasing maybe 10 more Android devices in the next coming years, and they all have a different version of Google Chrome running on it. So, and that's not just to piss off developers. No, that's just because of hardware decisions why they do that. Maybe the operating system, they can't handle faster Chrome or hardware related. I mean, and that's only from the modern ones. I mean, and I think you're like very unlucky if you also need to deal with like legacy browsers. And the thing is, when you work for the enterprise, that is often the case. And then I talk about Internet Explorer 8, maybe even 7 or 6, and there's still banks that are using that. I mean, I'm laughing always about it, but it's not, I mean, these people, they want to move on to a later version of Internet Explorer, but you just can't because they have like all expensive software that only runs in an old legacy browser, and so they cannot just easily make that switch. So that's a big problem for us as developers. CSS vendor prefixes. I think that's like something from the last couple of years that browsers start to experience with CSS property or CSS rules in style sheets. Think about shadows or box or radius and stuff like that. And what they do is they provide their own CSS rules only for their own browser. And once they agree on it, that they want to take that rule, then they include it in a browser, and then suddenly the prefix can be removed. So that means that as a developer, you need to put all these CSS prefixes in your style sheet code, and you need to maintain it with every newer version of the browser that will be released. And then we have feature support, and obviously, like there are hardware features like, I created an Android app, and that works fine, but when I run the application on my old iPad 1, I don't have a camera. That's a hardware feature that you need to deal with. But that's not the only thing. There are also like lots of software features, especially within browsers, like, for example, IndexedDB, which is an offline database that runs in your browser, works perfect on all desktops. It just is not supported for Safari, for mobile Safari. So I cannot save my data there. So as a developer, you probably need to come up with some fallback solution. Or SVGs is another thing. Like SVGs works perfect across all devices and desktops except on old Android devices. They are just performance-wise, it's just bad. Huge data sets. What if you have a database with millions of records and you want to display that in your app? Obviously, you cannot put all these thousands of records in your DOM because that slows down your application. But at the same time, we're talking here about single-page applications. So what will happen when you download the next page? Let's say you put a pager underneath the table. Do you need to download the whole page and then you have a page refresh? And what about filtering and sorting your data? What will happen then? That can be quite difficult. And obviously app performance of data is one thing, but also just performance of the application itself. And then we have internet connection. An internet connection that's like, on our desktop machines, I can assume that we all are on a fast internet connection, which is wired. But on my phone, I can have any type of connection. Maybe it's Wi-Fi or maybe it's just a network. And when I'm here in the underground, I suddenly lose my connection. And then what? What will happen with the data in my app? Can we still use the app when we're offline? And what will happen if I modify data in the app and as soon as I come back online again? Will it automatically sync? These are all like stuff that we as front-end developers just need to deal with. So serious app development on the front end is like playing Tetris, because at the end you're just stacking all these technologies on top of each other, and then at some point it's too hard to maintain. Because, it's a lot of code. You need to maintain this code. You want to work with your teams, with a whole team on it. It needs to be scalable. Especially these enterprise applications or mainframe applications, they from 15 years ago, they want to migrate to the web and they need to be existing for the next 15 years. And with all these challenges like browsers and differences, that's very tricky. Reusability is another thing, and there's also always somebody in the company who asks you like, okay, and how much will this cost me? So the solution here will be that you should choose a framework, because a framework can deal with the pitfalls of app development. Just in general, frameworks often will make sure that every screen will be pixel perfect across all these devices, browsers, and operating systems. And they will just give you a simple API that you can talk to, and that will solve a lot of time-consuming work, and it's often written in one unified coding style. That said, if you choose one framework. So what you need basically is like the one framework that can do all these things, and not just stacking frameworks on top of each other. And so basically what you need is like this big one Tetris block that clears all the lines for you. And that is something that we at Sencha can do. We do that with the Sencha Platform. So we have tools for design, develop, and deploying applications. And because we're a company, there's always a number that you can call for consultancy or training or support or whatever if something breaks down, you can always get in contact with somebody. So for design, we deliver like the prototype tools that you can easily drag and drop applications. I mean, the view, obviously. I mean, behavior not, because it's, that's something that you need to code yourself. But yeah, we do have like prototyping tools. We also have like lots of style sheets that you can use in your application, so that when you drag and drop these views in each other, that it looks like an iOS app or an Android app or a Windows app or a BlackBerry app, or maybe just the app that you designed by yourself. We have all these components, so you can just use it, and you don't need to be a designer anymore. You also don't need to be an HTML or CSS guru. That's all the stuff that the framework does for you. Now, as for the development layer, we have like 2 frameworks. One framework is GXT, which is on top of Google Web Toolkit. And the other framework that we have is XJS, which is our JavaScript framework. And both frameworks, they will generate the HTML5 code for you. So you don't need to be an HTML or CSS guru. It's all one coding style. And for the JavaScript framework, that also means that, because what we did was we looked into languages like Java, and we see like, what really works well is an object-oriented class system. JavaScript itself has no class system, so we just implemented it ourselves. We also implemented our own architecture, so you can really have your view separate from your data and from your behavior. And there are like many things that we just have all included in the framework. So those are the things that I mentioned in the pitfalls. Obviously, we have solutions for that, but there's like much more. Like, since it's a single-page application, what about history support, right? Can I use the browser back button? Can I bookmark? Infinite scrolling, when you have like a data grid and you can scroll, that it looks like Facebook, that it just like smoothly just scrolls in and that it performs very well. Data binding, like live synchronization of data. Screen reader support, keyboard support, you just name it. It's probably all in our frameworks because it's really complete, and we're there already for a while. I mean, we're doing it for years. And the last thing is deploy. We have our own deployment solution, but you can also use any other solution. You can wrap your application, for example, with Cordova or PhoneGap, and then you can sell it in an app store, or you can talk to native APIs. When you use our own deployment solution, which is more focused for business to business or business to employee, then it's just one line on the command line, and it pushes it automatically to the Sencha space or the web application manager that we have. And that one will just push the app across all these hundreds of devices on the fly, and it's all secure. So that means that your source code will be secured, but also the data itself, and that it can be controlled by an administrator, for example. So that was my quickie. In case you're interested, feel free to just stop by. I have a lot of T-shirts in the booth, so if you want a T-shirt or just want to hang out with me, that is fine. Are there any questions? No questions? Are you guys JavaScript developers or not at all? A little bit.
So the framework
yes.
is downloaded onto the device. And
yes.
How big is the size of that framework?
That is actually something that Sencha does really well, because, like, for example, like our framework, like what you've seen here, is like very big, right? We have like everything. But obviously, we're not going to put everything in an app if you only have a form, for example. So because we work with classes and objects, Sencha can see like, oh, you're only using the forms and maybe you only use charts. So we put that in the app, and anything else we just leave out. So you make your JavaScript like very small. It will be all concatenated to one single JavaScript file, and that will be also minified. So that's depending on the app, how small it is. It will be downloaded on the device. Once it's on the device, it will be available offline because it's cached, and we control that. We can control the differences, like as soon as a newer version of the app is available, and you publish that. that the user only downloads the differences, so you don't need to download the full app. No, only the minor changes, the deltas.
Do you handle things like going underground and re-triggering?
Yeah, well, we have stuff for that. We have like proxies, so you can wire up a proxy to an offline database, so then it will be saved. We provide stuff that it will be automatically cached, and the next time that you open it, yeah, obviously you need to code. You provide your coding to make it trigger that way that it will be synced, but it's just a matter of switching proxies. It's very easy. You just, for example, you make a sync button, you click on the button, and then it just checks like, oh, I'm online, offline. Switch the proxies. That's how I would do that. Yeah. No more questions?
There's some support for something like Uglify or Google Compile or something like that.
What do you mean with Uglify? Is that like
Compiling the
yeah, yes. Well, I don't know what we're using. I don't think we use Uglify, but we probably use something similar. It works the same. It just concatenates it and minifies it all, and you can control that. Our build system it's depending on Apache Ant, so you can just write your own Ant tasks or use your own minifier. Or yeah, it's very advanced, I think. Okay, thank you.